And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. Joining me is Juan Zarate. He's our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you as always.
Fantastic being with you, Bob.
So the Ebola crisis goes on, and there seems to be this debate on again, off again about whether or not it makes any sense for a travel ban. That is to restrict people from certain countries in West Africa from coming here. What's your sense of that?
Well, that's certainly become the hot button political question and issue. It really boils down to, Bob, whether or not we're going to move to a more aggressive preventative strategy, assuming that things are going to get worse in West Africa, which all the experts suggest it will. And so a travel ban may make sense. And now the objections to that have been clear. The administration has said, look, you don't want to restrict people moving in and out to provide health and aid services. That's true. You also don't want to create diversionary tactics on the part of those evading scrutiny. We currently have a fairly good funnel system. Most of travelers coming from West Africa eventually come into 5 airports, so you don't want to disrupt that. And also, you don't want to create a sense of panic or ostracizing of an entire continent by sort of creating a travel ban unnecessarily. That said, I think there are ways of doing this tied to not allowing visas for those who are in these countries who want to come to the United States. Using the visa process itself is a fairly easy and mechanical way, not without complications, but a fairly mechanical way for the U.S. government to constrict who comes into the country.
So
and that's one way of doing it.
You're saying just until this passes, until this Ebola crisis passes, we should or could just restrict all travel from those countries?
Well, not all travel necessarily. What you can say is, look, we're not going to provide visas over the next 3 months. You can reevaluate it every month if you'd like, to any nationals of those countries, regardless of whether or not they came into contact with an Ebola patient.
But what about a healthcare worker who might be there and might also be contaminated?
Right.
How does that fix that problem?
Well, it doesn't entirely fix it, and it doesn't fix it with respect to U.S. citizens, because this does, visas don't apply to U.S. citizens.
Right.
You can come in and out. And it also wouldn't apply to people trying to go in. If people want to go in to provide aid and services, doctors, nurses, et cetera, they can do that. There is a challenge, though. It wouldn't be a complete ban because you're banning just those nationals who are in country and saying, look, you can't even get on a plane from your country to come to the United States without a visa. And if you're going to transit somewhere and try to evade, you can't get on that plane to the U.S. without that visa.
Is there a political problem, though, with stigmatizing a region or a country? I mean, it seems to me the White House doesn't really want to have a, kind of an illness enemies list.
No, I think that's right, but there's a couple factors. One is African countries have done it themselves already with respect to travel in and out of the 3 affected countries, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. So we're not talking about all of West Africa, we're not talking about Nigeria, not talking about Ghana, you're talking about those particular countries. So Africa has done that in some form or fashion, other African countries. Secondly, the very notion of quarantining can apply to various geographic zones, right? And so it's not just one particular village or city or capital, but it could be a country or region. And if the projections are right that we're going to have at least 10,000 new cases per week, and there's no sort of end in sight to that exponential growth, I do think we have to think preventatively and a bit longer term, not to react to what's happened in Dallas necessarily, but to what may come. And thinking about how to use the visa process to control at least the flow of some of the folks coming in. It's not many, 135 a day or so, but thinking about what that means and how we control potential exposure in the United States, it's not a crazy notion. And I think we need to take it out of the political domain and think about what the mechanics look like and what the strategy may look like longer term if this is going to be a problem, not with us just today, but in the months to come.
So this is a debate that may be worth having, even though we are getting into the political season here. The election's around the corner.
Yeah, I think the crisis is too near. It's too present in terms of the mind of the populace, and so we can't wait 3 weeks to have a debate about what we're going to do with Ebola. You're going to have thousands more infected at that moment, and you may have other cases in the U.S. And you don't want to be in constant reactive mode on a crisis this important.
Obviously, a story we have to watch. Juan, thanks as always.
Thank you, Bob.
And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We'll see you next time.